This podcast is brought to you by Aura. Imagine waking up to find your bank account drained, bills for loans you never took out, a warrant for your arrest, all because someone stole your identity. Hackers aren't waiting. Why are you? That's why we're thrilled to partner with Aura. Your personal data is a goldmine for hackers, and Aura helps lock it down. Aura monitors the dark web, blocks data brokers from selling your information, includes a VPN for private browsing, and a password manager to secure your accounts before criminals break in. For a limited time, Aura is offering our listeners a 14-day free trial plus a dark web scan to check if your personal information has been leaked, all for free at aura.com/safety. That's aura.com/safety to sign up and start protecting yourself and your loved ones. That's aura.com/safety. Terms apply. Check the site for details.
Doors closing.
Morning, Allie. How's it going?
Not bad. Pretty typical morning so far.
This is a Blue Line train to downtown and O'Hare.
Attention everyone, I am not of this world. I come from a distant galaxy, and I bring a dire warning. My fellow aliens are planning to invade Earth on New Year's Eve. They will come in great numbers, and there is nothing your earthly governments can do to stop them.
Well, that's a new one.
Yeah. Aliens and New Year's, great combination.
But fear not. I have been sent as an emissary to prevent this disaster. All I need is enough money to send the signal back to my home planet and call off the invasion.
She's really going for it, huh?
It's impressive. I'll give her that.
Please, for the future of your planet, donate what you can. I have mere days to stop the destruction of all mankind.
This is awesome. This is a Blue Line train to downtown and O'Hare.
Sure, people are lining up to fund her intergalactic mission.
Hey, you never know. Maybe she'll save us all from the alien apocalypse.
You'd think with aliens they'd have better ways to raise funds, like Alien GoFundMe.
I'd love to see that. Help us stop the invasion. $5 minimum donation for an alien-free planet.
This is Tales from the Blue Line, my auditory anthology.
For Mervis Diamond Importers, I'm Ronnie Mervis. If you're looking for a diamond, you owe it to yourself to search for the best deal. Mervis Diamond imports direct from the mines, cutting out the middlemen. Our quality is exceptional and so are our prices. And that's why Mervis Diamond is the only smart choice. We're proud to be the diamond dealer by which all others compare themselves. No one else has the selection and value which makes Mervis famous. You'll see more diamonds in every size and every shape than you ever imagined in your wildest dreams. So when you're ready, compare around town and then come to us last. The Mervis Advantage will convince you that Mervis Diamonds is the only choice. That's why we sell more diamonds in 1 week than many other stores sell in a year. Diamonds are all we do, so we do it right. Someday, all diamonds will be sold the Mervis way. Mervis Diamond Importers. Mervis means more diamonds, much better quality, and the most value. Financing is available. Go to mervisdiamond.com to learn more. For an appointment, call 1-800-HER-LOVE. Nobody pays retail anymore. Why should you?
In real estate, there's a number for everything. Square footage, down payment, interest rates. But how do you measure the trust you have in your agent? For a RE/MAX agent, it's not about numbers on a contract. It's knowing that RE/MAX agents have been voted the most trusted in real estate. That means you'll get honest advice, expert guidance, and someone who's committed to your success. Because while numbers count, trust is what truly matters. RE/MAX voted most trusted real estate agency brand by American shoppers based on the 2024 BrainSpark American Trust Study. Each office independently owned and operated.
All right, I've got a story for you today. This one's a bit different.
Hit me. What's it about?
So, imagine this. A nurse starts noticing strange things during her shifts. The hospital's layout, the staff, even the patients. Everything is just slightly off. And each time she starts a new shift, it's like the hospital has changed again. But no one else seems to notice.
Sounds like a bad dream. I like it.
It was Kate's first week working the night shift at St. Andrew's Memorial, a small, rural hospital in Mississippi. The building, with its outdated infrastructure and faded paint, felt like it had seen better days. Kate wasn't sure if it was the quiet hum of the fluorescent lights overhead or the emptiness of the corridors, but something about the night shifts gave her a sense of unease. She walked through the nearly deserted hospital, her footsteps echoing against the tile floor. The night staff was smaller, only a few nurses, a couple of doctors, and some orderlies working overnight. The silence was occasionally broken by the beep of a heart monitor or the murmur of patients sleeping in their rooms. It wasn't long before Kate began noticing little things. The hallway she had walked through the night before seemed shorter somehow, like it had shifted. She paused, frowning at the dimly lit corridor. Maybe she was just tired. Night shifts could do that, blur things together, make everything seem slightly off. She brushed it off, assuming it was just the result of being new to working nights. But it wasn't just the hallway. Some of the staff members acted oddly too. Karen, an older nurse Kate had met during her orientation, seemed different. Not in any big way, just little things. Karen called her by the wrong name once or twice, and when Kate mentioned something about the previous night's patients, Karen didn't seem to remember. "It must be the exhaustion," Kate muttered to herself as she passed by a series of patient rooms. She glanced into one room, doing a quick check on a patient who was recovering from surgery. But as she moved through the hall, something tugged at the back of her mind. There, in a secluded part of the hospital she didn't remember passing through before, was a door she had never noticed. The door was locked and tucked into a shadowy corner of the hall, one she could have sworn didn't exist on her rounds the previous day. She paused in front of it, a chill creeping up her spine. Kate turned back, deciding not to dwell on it. She needed to focus on her patients, not on strange doors or the weird feeling that the hospital was subtly shifting around her. But as her shift wore on, she couldn't shake the sense that something was off. The locked door, the oddly familiar but somehow different staff, and the strange layout of the hospital nagged at her. Kate made a mental note to check it out later, but for now she tried to focus on her duties, hoping the oddities were just the result of her adjusting to the night shift. Kate returned for her second night shift, her mind still preoccupied with the strange feeling she had from the night before. She half expected the hospital to feel normal again, that maybe she had just been imagining things. But as she walked the familiar halls, her unease grew. The hospital looked the same, but small details felt wrong. The hallway leading to the nurses' station was dimmer than usual, and the overhead lights flickered slightly, casting long shadows that danced across the walls. Kate glanced around, trying to shake the feeling that the building was changing around her. The staff seemed familiar, but something was off. Karen was there again, but this time she greeted Kate with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Good evening. Katie, right?" Karen asked, her voice sounding slightly different, almost robotic. Kate blinked. "It's Kate," she corrected, trying to brush it off. The patients, too, seemed to have changed. One man, Mr. Dawson, who had come in with a broken arm the night before, was now lying in a bed with a severe respiratory illness, coughing weakly as the doctors worked to stabilize him. Kate checked her records, convinced that she must have mixed something up, but the notes were clear. Mr. Dawson had been admitted with a simple fracture. There was no mention of any respiratory condition. Pushing her confusion aside, Kate went about her rounds. Each time she passed through a hallway or entered a room, she felt a growing sense of unease. The equipment looked slightly older in some areas, outdated compared to what she had worked with previously. In other places it seemed almost futuristic, with displays and monitors that she had never seen before. She started keeping track of the changes, noting them down in a small notebook she carried in her pocket. Each shift seemed to bring new discrepancies. things that no one else seemed to notice. The hallways would be a different length. The lighting would change, and the layout of the patient rooms seemed to shift. Kate found herself navigating a hospital that felt like a puzzle, one she couldn't quite figure out. As the nights wore on, she began to feel increasingly isolated. The staff would greet her warmly one night, then seem distant and cold the next. Patients who had been improving would suddenly worsen, their diagnosis shifting, as if they had been someone entirely different before. Then one night, during an unusually quiet shift, Kate overheard two nurses whispering about a patient who had been admitted earlier that week. The patient, a man in his 40s, had been treated for a mysterious illness that didn't appear in any of Kate's charts. When she approached the nurses to ask about him, they looked at her with blank expressions, as if they had never heard of him before. "Are you sure you're not thinking of someone else?" one of the nurses asked, her tone polite but distant. Confused, Kate tried to track down the patient's room. But when she reached the area where he should have been, the bed was empty. The room looked different too, almost like it belonged in another wing of the hospital. The equipment was newer, the layout unfamiliar. Kate's mind raced as she pieced together the growing evidence. This wasn't just exhaustion or a trick of the mind. The hospital was shifting, and she was the only one who seemed to notice. Each night the reality around her seemed to warp, creating subtle variations that she couldn't explain. And with every shift, the strange door she had first noticed grew more prominent. It was always there now, in every version of the hospital, tucked away in a dark corner of the building, its lock gleaming faintly under the flickering lights. By the time Kate returned for her next shift, she had grown used to the changes. But that didn't make them any less disturbing. The hospital felt more foreign with each passing night, and she began to dread the moment when she'd walk through the doors and find a new version of the world she thought she knew. It wasn't just the equipment or the layout anymore. It was the patients themselves. She discovered that a patient she had previously cared for was suddenly much worse. An older woman, Mrs. Caldwell, who had been recovering from minor surgery, now appeared frail and sickly. But when Kate looked into her records, she found something shocking. Mrs. Caldwell had died a week ago in a completely different shift, in another version of the hospital. Yet here she was, breathing shallowly under the stark fluorescent lights. That wasn't the worst of it. In one shift, as Kate passed through the east wing, she noticed the locked door again. This time it was slightly ajar, a faint light leaking out from the edges. She hesitated before approaching, but her curiosity overpowered her fear. With trembling hands, she pushed the door open, finding herself in a small room filled with outdated medical equipment, machines she had never seen in use, their surfaces covered in dust. There, in the middle of the room, was a patient hooked up to a complex web of tubes and monitors. His eyes were closed, his body unnaturally still, and the screens next to him displayed vital signs that made no sense. Despite the readings showing he was alive, his pale, ashen skin told a different story. Kate's heart pounded as she moved closer to the bed. She checked the patient's chart, but it was blank. No name, no diagnosis, nothing. The only clue was a small tag attached to the man's wrist, inscribed with a date that was decades old. The other versions of the hospital revealed even more unsettling secrets. She found an entire wing of patients being treated for injuries and illnesses that didn't match any medical textbooks she had studied. Their wounds were strange, deep, festering gashes that seemed to heal and reopen on their own. No one else seemed to notice. The doctors and nurses went about their business as if this was just another normal day. But Kate knew something was terribly wrong. She tried talking to the staff, hoping someone would acknowledge the strange occurrences, but their responses were either confused or dismissive. Some of the nurses didn't even seem to remember who she was, despite having worked with her for weeks. One night, after another unsettling shift, Kate finally gathered the courage to ask Karen about the locked door. Karen paused for a long moment before responding. "That room? I wouldn't go in there if I were you," Karen said, her voice low and warning. "Some doors are better left closed." But Kate wasn't ready to walk away. She needed to understand what was happening. The locked room, the strange patients, the shifting realities, it was all connected. And the answer was out there, hidden somewhere in the labyrinth of St. Andrew's Memorial. The hospital felt like a maze now, its layout changing unpredictably. Familiar corridors twisted into dead ends. Patient rooms vanished, and equipment became relics from the past or machines from an unknown future. She realized the key to breaking the cycle lay in the locked room. Each version of the hospital had that door, and it always appeared in different places. It was the only constant between all the realities. The room, and whatever was inside, held the answer to why she was the only one experiencing these shifts. On her final shift, Kate found herself in the darkest version of the hospital yet. The halls were nearly empty. The few staff she encountered seemed hostile, their eyes cold and distant. The patients she passed by were in terrible condition. Some gasped for breath, their bodies hooked up to strange machines that made eerie mechanical sounds. One patient, whom she had never seen before, reached out to her with bony fingers, whispering, "Don't let it take you!" Terrified, Kate hurried through the corridors until she found the locked door again. It was now in the hospital's basement, where she had never been before. This time, the door wasn't just slightly ajar, it was wide open, a dim light spilling out into the shadowy hallway. Taking a deep breath, she stepped inside. The room was unlike anything she had seen. It was filled with old medical equipment, some of it outdated by decades, and some machines looked far too advanced for the current era. But in the center of the room was the same patient she had seen before, the man with the ashen skin, hooked up to a web of tubes and monitors. Kate's heart raced as she approached the bed. The man's eyes were still closed, but this time his monitor showed no vital signs. He was dead. Yet somehow he had been present in every reality she had slipped through. She leaned closer, desperate to understand what was happening. As she touched the man's cold hand, a surge of energy coursed through her. Suddenly the room shifted violently around her, the walls bending and warping. Kate staggered back, clutching her head as the realities around her collided. The door behind her slammed shut, trapping her inside as the hospital's various versions seemed to merge, overlapping in her vision like a kaleidoscope of worlds. She realized then that the man, this patient, was somehow linked to the parallel realities. He was the anchor, the key to why the hospital was shifting. The equipment surrounding him seemed to be some kind of machine controlling the shifts, feeding off the hospital's different versions. It was a bizarre experiment gone wrong, and the only way to stop it was to shut the machine down. With shaking hands, Kate ripped the wires and tubes from the machine, and as she did, the shifting reality around her began to slow. The walls stopped moving, the corridors outside stabilized. The hospital was returning to its original state. For a moment, everything went still. The air was heavy with silence, as if the hospital was holding its breath. Kate stumbled out of the room, her heart pounding in her chest. She blinked, looking around at the now familiar hallways. The hospital was back to normal, its original layout, its regular staff and patients. The parallel realities had finally collapsed. She checked her watch. Her shift was almost over, and for the first time in weeks, the clock seemed steady. The nightmare was over. But as she walked past the nurse's station, something caught her eye. In the corner of the room, tucked away in the shadows, was a small, unmarked door. The same door that had haunted her shifts. Kate froze, her breath catching in her throat. The door was closed, but it was still there.
And that's a commercial break.
Nice. Ooh, hear that? My neck cracked. So satisfying.
Speaking of satisfying, I just used a Clorox toilet wand.
Ooh, with the cleaner already in it?
Yes. All in one. The brush just clicks on.
Click.
Then you swish, swish, swish.
Ah.
And pops right off into the trash.
Just click.
Swish.
Pop.
Clorox. Clean feels good.
Clean feels good.
Oh, we're back.
Use as directed.
Are you ready for more independence as a financial advisor? Consider the RIA model. Schwab Advisor Services has helped thousands of advisors make the move. To find your path, start with Schwab at advisorservices.schwab.com/paths today.
Okay, that one gave me chills. A hospital that shifts between parallel realities, that's intense.
Yeah, my college roommate told me that one. She swears it really happened to a nurse she knew during her residency.
Wait, seriously? She thinks that actually happened?
I mean, she was dead serious when she told me, but who knows? Could have been just an odd urban legend. Either way, she stuck to it.
So, parallel realities in a hospital and no one else noticed. That's wild. Still stranger things have happened in night shifts, right?
Oh, you wouldn't believe half the stuff I've seen in the ER at 3 a.m. Things get weird in hospitals when the world is asleep.
I don't doubt it, but slipping between realities, that's next level weird.
Well, believe it or not, that nurse, the one who supposedly lived through all this, she got fired a few months later.
For what? Not spilling the secret about parallel realities, I hope.
Nope. For stealing drugs.
Okay, that tracks. So maybe not the most reliable source of a story then.
Hey, it's still a good one. Maybe she saw those shifting realities after taking something she shouldn't have.
This is a Blue Line train to downtown.
All right, I'll see you tomorrow. I'll be expecting another story from you.
Oh, I have no doubt. Have a good shift.
You too. See you tomorrow, Mason.
Tales from the Blue Line by Auditory Anthology is written and produced by me, Keith Conrad. Your narrator is Darren Marlar. Be sure to check out Darren's award-winning paranormal podcast, Weird Darkness, available at weirddarkness.com and your podcast app of choice. You can also support the show by subscribing to our new Substack at auditoryanthology.substack.com. By becoming a paid subscriber, you'll help keep the stories coming. You'll also get every episode completely commercial-free, and now you can vote on which story we'll feature in an upcoming episode.
The new McCrispy Strip is here. Dip approved by ketchup, tangy barbecue, honey mustard, Sprite, McFlurry, Big Mac sauce, double dipped in buffalo and ranch, more ranch, and creamy chili McCrispy Strip Dip. Now at McDonald's. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
This podcast is brought to you by Aura. By the time you hear about a data breach, your information has already been exposed for months. On average, companies take 277 days to report a breach. That's 9 months where hackers have access to your personal data. That's why we're thrilled to partner with Aura. Aura is an all-in-one digital safety solution that monitors the dark web for your phone number, email, and social security number, sending real-time alerts if your info is found. It also includes a VPN, password manager, and data broker removal to help keep you safe. For a limited time, Aura is offering a 14-day free trial plus a dark web scan to check if your personal information has been leaked, all for free at aura.com/safety. That's aura.com/safety to sign up and protect your loved ones. That's AURA.com/safety. Terms apply. Check the site for details.